Good morning, Unity North. I'm so happy to be with you today. I am going to read a meditation from Until Today by Iyanla Vanzant. I will gain more understanding when I realize there's a place called home where I am always welcome. Inside of you, there is a place called home. It is not a house, nor is it anything like the home in which you grew up. The home inside of you is the place where God resides. It's a safe place, a place filled with love. In this home, there is everything you could need or want. There is support, comfort, peace, and unconditional acceptance. In this home, no one will judge you. No one will deny you. You will never be rejected or abandoned. In this home, your divine home, God is waiting to rock you to sleep. When you awake from the dreams and the nightmares of the world, God will still be there waiting for you. At any time, in any moment, you can go home. You don't need to pack or plan. You can get home if you don't have a dime to your name. You can move out of frightening, threatening, or challenging situations. You can move away from difficult and unloving people and go home. When you get there, you can receive the answers, insights, understandings, and revelations you need to make your worldly life a more pleasant place to be. You can build up the strength, stamina, and courage you need to deal with your world and the people in it. When the world and your life become a bit too much for you to handle, simply go home. Until today, you may not have realized that there's a place in your heart called home. Just for today, practice going home to get what you need at any moment. Today, be devoted to finding your way back home. So I'm going to ask that you just gently close your eyes and breathe deeply, realizing that breath is life and life is God. And the life of God is flowing through you now from the crown of your head to the very soles of your feet. Every cell, every tissue, every muscle, every organ in your body is alive and alight with that God presence and that God power. So we just sit in the silence. Go home. Go into your heart. Ask for your heart's desires and give thanks, knowing that it's already done. We let it be, and so it is. My talk today is titled, Let There Be Light. In Genesis, the first chapter, third verse, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Elizabeth Sand Turner says in her book entitled, Let There Be Light, "By this affirmation, we attune our minds to the spirit of truth. Then wisdom scatters the darkness of limited human reason and supplants it with understanding." So say with me today, let there be light. Let there be light. Let there be light. You're speaking to the very cells of your body. It was interesting, as we listened to the drummers, you could feel the vibration, couldn't you? Everything is energy. Everything is vibration, moving at different rates, different speeds, and then we get different things because of that movement and what have you. Let there be light. Let there be understanding. Let there be wisdom in our lives. Right now, there is so much going on in the world. I was listening to a webinar yesterday that had Deepak Chopra, Dr. Master Shah, Irvin Laszlo, some heavy hitters. And they were talking about the state of our universe, really, our world. And Laszlo said, basically, we have two choices: to move up, to evolve and to grow, or go down and deal with chaos and crisis. But what has been on my heart lately, especially for the New Thought community, is that we are very powerful and important to this universe. I don't know if you realize that about yourself. But in this New Thought community, we've been learning principles and having practices that raise our consciousness, move us to a different level of understanding. And with that, not only can we make the circumstances better in our lives, we can make the circumstances better in the world. We can. You and I, the people in this room, can create a tremendous shift in the universe. And I really think it's our obligation for the world that we live in and what we see coming. They're talking about shortage of energy and supplies and the after effects of the COVID and the possibility of other pandemics coming, and they're talking about exploiting the resources and all of this stuff out here in the world. But you and I make a difference. You and I, with our thoughts, with our words, and we know, if you've been in New Thought, words have power. You learned that before you learned anything else. We all know that we do not attach anything negative to I am. Right? We know that. But sometimes we get caught up in conversations with coworkers and families and others, and we forget our truth. We forget and we start attaching things to I am that we shouldn't be attaching to I am. Do you realize, I found this fascinating, maybe you know it, but there are over 100 trillion cells in our body. Think about that. 100 trillion cells in our body. Not a million, not a billion. 100 trillion cells in our body. So every time we speak, we are creating a vibration in those 100 trillion cells. what are you telling those cells? What are you telling your body? What are you saying to the universe that you want? Because we know when we say I am, that's God in action. In our circumstance, in our situation, in our life, the minute we attach I am is God's name. So when we speak, we're creating a vibration. What if we got up and spoke every morning for a vibration of peace and love and unity in the world? We're shifting the energy. We're like a pebble in a pond. Wherever you are, all of you here, I'm sure when you get up in the morning, all of you go in different ways. Maybe if there's a couple, you might be in the same space for a while. But most of you go out into the world somewhere else and touch others. You don't have to preach to them. You don't have to tell them what you know. You just have to be what you know. You have to be what you know. You have to be that light. Light is an understanding principle. And it's following the guidance of spirit that dwells within. So as we move out into the world, we have an opportunity to be a light. We have an opportunity to make a difference. Have you ever gone in a place and saw a person who had a beautiful smile? And it was infectious. You could feel their energy. That's the light you need to be. I need to be wherever we go. There's a Chinese proverb that says, if there's light in the soul, there will be beauty in the person. If there's beauty in the person, there will be harmony in the house. If there's harmony in the house, there will be order in the nation. If there's order in the nation, there will be peace in the world. If there's light in your soul, if you know that you know that you know these truth principles and apply them in your life, there is so much that we could overcome and really so much that we would miss because we would be vibrating at a higher level. And I know many of you and probably have had health experiences. I know I had one a few years back, and I was laying on a stretcher in the ER, and I realized that I was in a dire situation. And I closed my eyes, and I said, God, I surrender. This is you, all you. Because see, I knew Dolores couldn't do a thing. I was in bad shape. I went in the hospital. No, I had my situation on September 10th, 2016, and I remember it so clearly because it was Hillside's 45th anniversary, and we had a program, and I didn't feel well. But I made it through most of the day. On my way home, as I got off on the ramp, a pain hit me like I cannot explain. And I had two thoughts. I said, I'm equidistant from my home and my bed and the hospital. Which way am I going? Then I thought about it. I had my mom. I hear the gentleman here is 102. My mom was 99 at the time, and I'm thinking about her. I need to go home, feed her, do this. I go home. Take care, Mom, get in my bed. The next morning was Sunday morning. I had to call our program director and tell her, I said, I can't get up. I can't make it. And a friend of mine said, Dolores, don't you think you need to go to the hospital? I said, well, I'll go to my doctor tomorrow. And I did. That next morning I got up, went to my doctor. And the reason I didn't really worry about it was 2 weeks ago I had a physical and everything was fine. When I get to her and she says, well, Dolores, we're going to take some samples. She said, but you go have a scan. I said, okay. I did. Next thing I know, I'm sitting there keeping me waiting. I'm like, what's going on? Then the lady comes and gets me and tells me my doctor wants to talk to me. And she said, Dolores, your appendix ruptured 2 days ago. She said, you get to the ER right away. They know you're coming. I've called the doctor. And I went to the hospital because the doctor's office, hospital, all on one strip. I went to the hospital. And laying there on that stretcher, I said, God, I surrender. Not 1 minute after I said that, the nurse came to me and said, Miss Voorhees, we're going to do a scan, and Dr. Faith is going to put a drain in you. That was my confirmation that everything was all right. Everything was all right. Didn't matter what they had to do after that. I had already received confirmation that it was all right. So I went, I had the drain. I'm there. My doctor comes in the morning, doesn't look good. And he said, Dolores, the doctors from infectious disease will be up to see you. I said, okay. Doctors come in, 2 of them. And basically what they told me was the antibiotics that they were giving me were not working. I don't know how often you can do blood draws, but it seemed like whatever time span you have to have in between it, they were there every time to get some blood. And then finally, toward the end of that week, we started to see some breakthrough. I was there for 8 days. The majority of that first 4 or 5 days, they were struggling with what they could give me to take care of the toxins in my body. I went home that following week, and I was on antibiotics. I had to take them 24 hours for a whole month. My appendix ruptured on September 10th. They were not removed until December 8th. Why am I telling you that story? I'm telling you because, one, I believe with every fiber of my being this truth that we teach. God is. That presence, that omnipotence, that omniscience, that omni-intelligence is everywhere, evenly present. We can never, ever, 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 ever be outside of it. But we do have to tune into it and tap into it. So I don't know what's going on in your life. Maybe everything is coming up roses. But I do know as we practice our truth, as we apply our truth, as we affirm our truth, as we stand on our truth, we raise our vibration and we shift things. So let's look at understanding. Understanding that God is everywhere evenly present. Understanding it's okay if you don't know the whole plan for how things are going to work. Martin Luther King said, just take the first step in faith. You know, with all of my life, and I've been here a few years, I'm not a spring chicken. I've got 7 decades behind me. When I had whatever type of crisis situation, whatever, what I stood on were truth principles. The 12 spiritual faculties or spiritual powers, as some call them, when we make those so much a part of who we are and understand how to apply them. When we look at faith, faith is not seeing, but believing anyway. There have been so many times when I didn't see, but I believed. I spoke the word. I mean, and I've had situations. I've had a car on 285 burning up, just flames shooting all over the place. I've had some interesting challenges, if you will, in my life. But every one that I had, I used a truth principle and got to the other side of it. Even when I was having this thing going on with my appendix and what have you, when the nurse came to take the port out of my arm, the supervisor came with her. And she said, "I wanted to meet you." I said, "Why?" She said, "Dolores, I read your chart. You're not supposed to be here." I said, "Oh, God and I had a conversation. We had another plan. I don't know about what the chart said. I really don't care about what the chart said. I mean, you do your thing. I'm allowing you to do that. But what I know is I got confirmation when I said, God, I surrender. When my car was flaming and I was standing on the road, it was funny because the policeman who was there, the fire truck, the police car got there before the fire truck, and there were two guys from the Department of Transportation. They were looking at me, and I know what they were wondering. That lady, she's not upset. She's not crying. I was praying. I was speaking to God. I said, God, I know you're in the flames. I know fire means cleansing and purification. I'm all right with that, but you know I need a car for my job. See, I don't know about how you communicate with your God, but I talk to my God like I'm talking to anyone else. I just say what it is, and I expect it to work out. I expect it to work out. I expect there to be changes in my health. I expect for there to be changes in my finances. I expect good relationships. Because I tell everything else that's not of God, not of good, move out of my way. Not mean, not ugly to anyone. But I know that those that are not in vibration with me are not going to stay around me long. They've got to move on. Because I've decided to receive only good. I've tuned in and tapped into that light, that wisdom, that understanding within me. And that's why I say to you, we can shift and change this world. Just like I spoke to those situations and circumstances, you can speak to the situations and circumstances in your life. You can speak to the things that are happening in the world and in the universe. What if we collectively prayed for people taking office, that the infinite intelligence of God was operating in and through them and as them? I don't care what party. I just want God to be working in them, through them, and as them. We can do that. Oh, yeah, we can. Yes, we can. You can speak to the circumstances and situations in your life. You are more powerful than you can imagine. Remember, you got those 100 trillion cells working for you. Talk to them. Love them. Bless your body. Bless your circumstances. I talk about me because, like I said, I use this stuff everywhere. Went to buy a house. After I found the house I wanted, I went back to the house and laid my hands on every wall and blessed it. Guess what? I got the house closed, no problem. I speak to situations. I speak to my car. I bless my car. I could tell you story upon story about how I've used this truth, and it works. It works. It works for all of us. But we just have to apply it. See, many times what we do is we get a new thing, we get a new book, we listen to someone speak, or we go to a conference or workshop or whatever, and we get excited with the new material. We do it maybe 2 weeks. And then we're through. Tell the truth. We're done with it in about 2 weeks. We need to keep it going. We need to be disciplined. That's our biggest challenge. It's not knowing the truth. If I asked you all any one of questions, you can answer and you could tell me the truth. You could speak to that truth. But what we are not doing, and I've been guilty too, got to hold my hand up, is we don't stick with it. We've got to apply these truths, and we've got to do it day in and day out. Just like you get up and brush your teeth in the morning, then there's certain rituals, certain things that you should do every day. Every day. Every night before you go to bed and close your eyes. There's certain things that we should do. Because it makes a difference in our lives. It makes a difference in our lives. And I just, like they read the scripture that beloved, I wish above all things that you prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. That's what it's all about. That's what I've been a minister for, over 30 years, 32 years? That's what I've been trying to get across. What makes my heart sing is when somebody comes to me and said, Reverend Dolores, I did so-and-so, it worked. I did this, I did. That makes me so happy. That gives me so much joy to know that you used it and it worked. I know what we're capable of. I know we're powerful. I know we have the energy. Tell you one more story. No, might tell you two. But anyway, when I was in ministerial school, one of my instructors was Reverend Bill Hurd. I don't know if any of you all know him. But Reverend Bill brought his boss to our class one night. This man was a quadriplegic. He was probably in his 40s, maybe early 50s at the time he brought him. When this young man was in his 20s, he had some type of illness, some type of disease, and they did not expect him to live beyond 20, that he might make it 30. And he was in a hospital. And he said he read Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. And he took in all of those principles, and he started using his mind. He couldn't move his body. Do you hear me? He could not move his body. He needed help to do everything. The only thing he could use was his mind. Well, needless to say, he made it past 30. Not only did he make it past 30, but he had an idea in communicating with spirit, and he became a millionaire. He had a business. And he couldn't move his body. That's why I know we can. That's why I will not give up on the human race. That's why I'll keep teaching truth principles, because I know it works. I know it works. I know it can happen. Know it can happen. Tell you one other thing. There were some baseball umpires. It was a conference. They were having a conference. And a young man was a newspaper reporter, journalist, and he wanted to interview the baseball umpires. So he talks to the first umpire. He says, some balls. No, he asked him, how is it you can make the calls? And the umpire said, some balls, some strikes. I just call them as I see it. Okay. So he asked another umpire the same question. How is it that you can call these pitches? And he said, some balls, some strikes. I just call them like it was. So he finds his old timer and asks him, how is it you make these calls? Umpire said, son, some balls, some strikes. It ain't nothing till I call it. So I am here to tell you, your words have power, and it ain't nothing until you call it. So what are you going to call the situations, circumstances in your life? It's up to you. Now I want to share one other thing with you, and this is the poem, and I know you've heard it before, from Nelson Mandela's inaugural speech. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we consciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. So I'm going to ask you today, set yourself free, and a few others too. God bless you.